We've been on a roll coming up with some really great crafting ideas that you can do on a super slim budget, and today's no exception. So stay tuned. Hi, my name is Leslie, and welcome to Happy Tuesday, where we do crafts and DIY and home decor and more. Today I have for you 7 amazing wooden bead projects that you can do for very little money with supplies that you've mostly bought at the Dollar Tree. Now, don't forget to stick around until the very end and I'll have a hint on one of next week's projects. So, let's start crafting. Let's take a quick sneak peek into all 7 of today's projects. I am so excited for these. I can't wait to show you, and that will bring us to project number 1. This coaster is super simple and requires just a little bit of yarn or whatever twine you want to use. And I am going to make mine 6 beads by 6 beads. So I'll string 6 beads on, and then I'm going to tie a knot in one end. Actually, I think I ended up tying 2 just to make sure that that bead did not come off. And I'm leaving a little bit of yarn on both sides to create some fringe. Now, I'm using yarn here, but if you wanted to use macrame cord or something else to create your fringe, you are certainly welcome to do that. Now, once I've gotten 6 strung together, then we are just going to add a little dab of glue on the inside of each bead and connect the second set of beads to that, and then we will do the same for the remaining 5 rows of beads until we've got all 6 glued together there. And then I'm going to take my handy dandy heat gun and just wipe off any excess, or blow off, melt off any excess glue strings. Now I'm just going to fray my yarn out. Now I took the strands apart on both sides of this coaster, and I thought it needed to be just a little bit more frayed, and so I'm going to take those individual strands and string them out even further until I get it all done. Once that is all complete, then I am going to take my handy dandy little nail file, and I'm just going to use that as a guide so that I can kind of trim off both sides so they evenly match. Now, you can leave your fringe long, you can make it short, you can avoid the fringe altogether and just cut the yarn off at the knots, and pick whatever option makes it look like you want it to look. I wanted to have kind of that little boho kind of look, and so I am leaving a little bit of fringe. And you can make as many of these as you want. They would make a great gift to give someone, and you could choose to stain them or paint them. I chose to leave mine naturally, and that way they can have a custom look for whoever you want to give them to, or for your own decor. And that will bring us to project number 2. This is another super simple one and would also make a great gift. So at the Dollar Tree you can buy that faux leather, and I just cut a strip off and cut it in half, and this is going to make 2 trivets. And then I have this wire in my craft supplies, and I've been using it for a couple of years now. It's 55-pound wire, and I want to say it is 16 gauge maybe. I just bought it at Walmart in their hardware section, and I'm going to cut a circle amount about as big as I want my trivet to be. Next thing I'm going to do is grab my handy dandy little pliers over there, and we are going to crimp off one edge. Now, one of the reasons why I like this wire is because it's really stiff and it really holds its shape. So it's not really good for making, like wire ornaments or wire people or anything like that, but it is perfect for this kind of craft. So as you can see, I bent over that edge, and that's going to be kind of the one side, so that way our beads won't fall off. And then I'm just going to use these beads. I bought these in a package on Amazon, but you can use whatever beads you happen to have on hand. I just like this size. I thought it was a good size for this trivet. and I'm trying to use up this enormous supply. Now, if you don't have an enormous supply of beads, this particular package I bought on Amazon is a great one to buy because it gives you lots of different sizes of beads, which I used quite a bit in this video because of the different projects with the different size beads. Once I've gotten the beads all around there, then I crimped off that second edge, and now I'm going to take one of these little strips of leather, and we are going to take some hot glue and glue that wire piece on both sides, creating kind of a little handle. And if you want more of a finished edge other than just leaving it like this, you can fold over that final end. Now I added a little bit more hot glue, and that'll kind of keep it in place, but I decided that I wanted more of a finished edge, and so I added a dab more hot glue and folded it over on the back side. And this project is complete. It's super simple, and because of that little leather strap, you can hang these. I'm throwing mine right in the drawer, and look at them, perfect size for whatever pot or pan or serving bowl that you want to set on them. And they can also be customized by paint or stain and a different color leather.
I just wanted to pop in here real quick and say thank you. It means the world to me that you choose to spend time together. Now, if you've not already done it, you could really help out my channel by hitting that subscribe button and clicking the bell so that you can be notified every time I upload a new video. Give today's video a big thumbs up, share it with your friends, and comment below. Now, let's get back to crafting.
And that brings us to project number 3. I love this one so much, and he looks so adorable on my tiered tray. So we're just going to take 2 beads, one bigger, one smaller, and the bigger one we are going to paint yellow. I am using Waverly's yellow, and right off the top of my head, I can't think of what the name of their yellow is. If you remember, stick it in the comments below. But we're going to paint the big one yellow, and then I'm going to paint the little one black, and the little one is going to be used as the head of our bee and the yellow as the body. Now you could further customize this. I kept it simple and just painted it black, but you could further customize this by adding a little bit of yellow to the face and popping on some eyes if you want. But I just wanted to keep it super simple and easy, and I am just going to leave it plain black. I grabbed some craft wire, black colored, out of my craft supplies, and I am going to twist around the 2 ends, and I'm just cutting enough to make antennae that are going to go inside that first little bead that is going to be the head. So I'm just going to make those and set that aside. We're going to grab the bigger piece of wire again and our yellow ball, and we are going to make stripes on our bee using this black wire. So we're just going to wrap it around and around the ball from bottom to top until you get it as thick or as thin lined as you would like it. I just wrapped it 3 times. And then before we cut our ends off, we are going to make 2 little wings. So whatever size, I figured about twice the size of the body was good enough for me. And then I'm going to take that end and snip it off and run it down the center of that bead. Once I've gotten the wings exactly the shape that I want them, I'm going to go ahead and grab some hot glue, and I was trying different ways, up or down, but anyway, I'm going to grab some hot glue and I am going to put the antenna in the head and then put some glue on the bottom of that head and add it on top of the wings. And there you can see just super simple but adorable little bee that will work perfect for your tiered tray. Now you could also put a nice little wire on him and hang him from somewhere if you were so inclined. And that brings us to project number 4, another super simple one, but I think just has an understated elegance. So I'm going to grab some more of those beads from that Amazon package, and I have 3 of these extra long birthday candles. And we are going to take the 1-inch cubes from the Dollar Tree, and we are going to glue our beads on top. So on one, we are going to glue 1 bead, and then on another one we're going to glue 2 beads, and on the last one we're going to glue 3 beads. Now you can make these as tall or short as you like. You can use whatever beads you want, and we're going to customize these a little bit by adding some paint on. Now you can customize them to whatever color you want, or you could stain them or just leave them natural, totally up to you. Now these birthday candles come with these little stems that I guess go inside the birthday cake, or whatever, birthday pie or birthday cupcakes. But I'm not going to use those, and so I took those off and set those aside. Now this bag of beads that I got on Amazon, I will link below, along with some other beads that I bought and the candles that I've used in today's video. Now my hole was a little bit bigger than these candles were, and so I just added a dab of hot glue around the bottom side of the candles and stuck them right inside that little hole that is on the bead. Now I did have my glue on the hot setting, and so it was starting to melt my candle a little bit. So on this last one, I just threw that hot glue right inside the hole of the bead and put my candle in. And that's all there is to this project. Super cute and simple, but it looks so elegant on my dining room table. And these particular candles, they'll burn for about I want to say 10 or 15 minutes. And that brings us to project number 5, another simple one. So you're going to grab 2 of the bamboo cutting boards from the Dollar Tree. I had these in my craft supplies. Of course, we're trying to use up what we've got this year. And so I was trying to find something fun to do with them, and I needed a good riser. So I took them outside and spray painted them both white. And then I had these white beads in my craft supplies. And since I was already going to use white anyway, this saved me from having to paint the beads. But again, I could have used the whole thing and left it natural. These are about the same size beads as the ones that you can buy at the Dollar Tree. I bought this at Hobby Lobby a couple of years ago on clearance, their Christmas decor. Anyhow, so I'm just going to glue these beads onto the edge all the way around the cutting board, and I just made sure that they were exactly on the edge by running the edge of that board on the table and making sure the beads were flush with the edge of the table. Now, you do need to be aware as you're gluing these on that when you get to the end, you may have too much space for one bead or not enough space for one bead, and so you just want to be cautious about that, so that you make sure you have your beads aligned so that they go all the way around and you don't have a big gap or space anywhere. Once you've gotten that completed, then you're just going to run a dab of hot glue all the way around the top of the beads that you laid on there and set your second cutting board on. Then I grabbed a bag of a little bit bigger beads that I had. I'll also link that down below, and I am going to paint those white with that Snow White chalk paint from Walmart by Waverly, and just give them a 1 coat. Didn't need to be anything fussy, but once we've gotten all 4 of them done, then dried, then I'm going to add a dab of hot glue onto each one and pop those onto the corners of my not tiered tray, my riser, and give it just a little bit more rise. And I think it turned out super cute, and it was super fun and easy to do. And because I had everything in my craft supplies, cost me nothing. And here it is sitting on one of my little bookshelves with a plant, and I just think it looks so stinking cute. And that brings us to project number 6. Here's another super simple one. Now I have these giant beads, and I thought they would make a really cute candle holder with, just a variety of different sizes of beads. Again, trying to use up what I've got in my craft supplies. Um, but if you don't have them, I'll have all the different beads linked below that I bought on Amazon. And I'm just going to kind of lay out how I want it to look. And then we're going to put this together. Now, I chose to put this together with some copper looking wire that I have. If you like that wire, I will link that below. It's not as stiff as that wire I buy from Walmart, but it was really malleable and easy to work with. And by doing that with the wire, it gave me the ability to kind of make this in any form I wanted, but it's going to stay together. And I really wanted it to just stay together. You could also use twine if you didn't care how flimsy it was, or a stiffer wire if you wanted it to be even more stiff. You could also glue the beads together, and that way they're not moving around. But anyway, I needed to drill a hole through the middle of the bead so that I could use the whole of the bead for the candles that I have. And I'll have these candles linked below. I wished I would have gotten a candle that was just slightly bigger, or maybe been able to drill those top holes myself. I suppose I could have just strung them on those holes and then, drilled holes to match the size of my candles. But honestly, didn't think about that until I had all these holes drilled in it. And so I just lined one up next to each other, and that way all the holes were in the same place through all the large beads. And then we're going to string it all up on this little copper wire. Once I've gotten everything all strung up, I am going to take my handy dandy little pliers, and we are going to make a little decorative loop-de-loop on the end that will hold the beads on, and also give it a nice little final look on the end of each side of this little candle display that I'm making. I just thought, it was something super simple and kind of gave a little bit of that boho look. Here I'm going to go ahead and grab those pliers, and we're just going to give that a little twisty until we have it in place where we want it, and how many twists I want on each side. I did 3 in case you're interested. Then I'm going to snip off the other side, and we're going to do the same thing, just kind of twist it up until we get it together. And I just loved being able to kind of mold this to whatever whimsical shape I wanted. And then these are just little beeswax candles. Now, again, they were a little bit bigger than the hole, and so I'm going to take a lighter and just kind of give it a little warm up to see if that'll kind of hold it in. Because remember now, the wire is through the middle of that large bead, and so by warming up the end, I was hoping to secure it to that wire, but that didn't really work especially well. And so I came in, which I didn't video, I came in and added a dab of hot glue on the bottom of each one of these candles. Now these particular candles will burn for approximately an hour. So, enough for dinner, to have a cute little dinner party with these cute little candles on this just adorable candle holder. And that brings us to our final project, project number 7. This was the longest time constraint. Do I want to say that? No. This is a project that took me the longest. I think it's super cute, and I am really excited to have this next to my tiered tray. You could put a hanger on the back side of it, And then, you know, it would be a really cute, whimsical piece to hang in a little girl's room or a nursery. But I took a bunch of beads, all kinds of different sizes, and I'm going to tell you the numbers of the beads that I used for each piece of the project. So right now what I'm making is one of the bottom wings, and I used one tiny, tiny bead, and then 4 of the next size bead, and then 4 of the bead that was the next size. Was it 4? 3. 3 of the next size bead, and then 2 of the bead that was just one step up from that, and then 1 large bead. And large, I mean just the step up from the last bead. And then we're going to go backwards. We're going to go 2 of the one size smaller bead, 3 of the smaller bead from there, 4 of the smaller beads, and then 1 tiny bead. And then we are going to bring the 2 ends of our wire together. This was wire I had bought in a pack. It came all kinds of different colors. And so I just picked a fun color to do this project. I thought our butterfly deserved to have a little bit of fun and whimsy. And so that's why we grabbed this metallic blue to do this project with. And you're not going to see most of it until you get to the body of the butterfly. So I'm just trying to decide here how to kind of wind those wires together, and I did turn them together pretty tightly and set that aside. Now we're going to make 2 of those for the bottom part of the wings, and then we'll make 2 that are slightly bigger for the top part of the bead. Now, as you can watch, I'm just doing that same sequence that I did for the lower part with the 4, 3, 2, 1, and then in reverse with the different sizes. And then we're going to snip that off and twist that together and set that aside. Now, for the larger wing, we're going to do just slightly more beads. So we'll do 1 tiny, tiny bead, and then 5 of the smaller beads, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then just in reverse. So we just added a few more beads just to make it slightly bigger than that bottom set of wings, and we're going to make 2 of those as well. And so once we've gotten all the wings made, then we are going to grab some beads to make the body. Now to make the body, we're going to use this same wire, and we are going to double it over. So I kind of decided about how big I needed my wire to be based on the size of my wings. And then I stuck on one of the tiny, tiny beads because that's going to kind of be my anchor. And I wrapped the wire around and around just to kind of secure that bottom bead. And then we're going to put the rest of the beads over both wires. So we're going to use the tiniest bead and then like 2 sizes up and a size up from there. And once we've gotten 3 beads on, then we are going to take the wing and kind of untwist it just a little bit, and we're going to twist it around one side of the wire from that body. Now, I did this a couple of different ways, and I didn't really like how bulky the wires got, and so this was the way I ended that, you know, didn't create as much bulk. And once we've gotten that one wing secure onto the one side of the wire, then we're going to put the excess pieces down inside the bead, so it's kind of going down toward the center, which helps secure it and then also deals with that excess wire. Once we've gotten the one wing secure, and this is a smaller wing, so we're going to use the smaller wing piece, and then we're going to do the same with the other smaller wing on the other side of the body wire. I hope that makes sense. You can kind of see what I'm doing here. And we're just going to wrap this wire around and secure it tightly to that one body wire. And that way then when we put in the next bead, which we're going to do, we're going to pull this wire up so it will go inside that next bead, and it'll go over all of those wires. and then we'll trim up what's left at the top and secure that down inside that bead. That way we haven't cut our wire too short where it might come disassembled. But you can see there's a little bit left, so we're going to cut it just shy of where it hits the top of that bead, and then wrap that around and stick that inside that bead to secure all those pieces together. Once that's all good and secure and inside that hole, then we are going to grab our bigger beads and our bigger wings, and we are going to do the same thing that we just did with the smaller wings. So we'll take the one wing and kind of separate out those pieces just a little bit, making sure that our beads are still secure, but we don't want the bulk of all that wire. And we're going to wrap it around that one outside body wire, and then we will trim those pieces down and secure those inside the bead, as you can see I'm doing here. And then we're going to do the same thing with the other wing and secure it onto that last wire. And just like we did with the smaller wings, we're going to take all that excess wire and we are going to push it up and put our remaining 2 beads on. Then we are going to tighten it down and make our little antenna. Now I noticed that those 2 top beads weren't really staying in place well, and so I grabbed a dab of hot glue and threw that in there, and then just kind of made sure that the wings were in the shape I wanted them, and that everything was secure, and that the wires were pulled really tight, so that, like I said, we don't want to end up with a whole bunch of bulk. And we want to make sure that our beautiful bead butterfly doesn't fall apart. Lastly, we are going to wrap up our wire into some cute little antennae. And again, just make sure that everything is secure. So we're going to twist that bottom bead just a little bit more. Make sure that everything is exactly the way we want it. And here is our completed butterfly. I love her so much, and I just love the little accent of that blue. It just makes it pop and gives it just a really sweet look. And here's a final look at all 7 of today's projects. These are so simple and easy, and I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys create from here. If you do create or recreate anything, please email me at happytuesdaydiy@gmail.com. Let me know in the comments below which one or ones you might like to try to recreate. And if you didn't see the first beads video that I did back in February, I will have that linked in the comments below. One of the cool things about all these projects that I did today is that they would make great gifts for Mother's Day. What do you think?
Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I really did enjoy our time together. Now, since you stuck around till the very end, here's your hint on one of next week's projects. You are going to need some terracotta pots. But until then, make it a great day and happy Tuesday!